Good afternoon. Welcome to today's session on Introduction to EPOCH Resources for Doctors. My name is Rachel Lowe, and I'm the EPOCH trainer. Please note that today's session is being recorded. You may have noticed that your microphone has been automatically muted. If you have any questions as we're going along, please feel free to hit the raise hand icon at the bottom of your screen or go ahead and type your message into the chat box. Please don't feel like you need to wait until the end of the session to ask any questions. Feel free to interrupt me at any time. A bit later on today, you will be receiving an email from me with a link to the recording of today's session, a copy of the PowerPoint slides, and a link to an online evaluation. The online evaluation only takes a couple of minutes to complete, and if you're able to do so, we really do appreciate it. Each one that we receive is read through carefully, and we do use them to help us structure future training sessions. So as I mentioned, my name's Rachel Lowe, and I'm the EPOCH trainer. I have a background in midwifery, education, and library and information studies, and I am a registered midwife. So EPOCH stands for the e-portal for online clinical help. It is the Tasmanian Department of Health's online clinical and research information service. It provides clinicians with the best access to the latest evidence-based information for point-of-care decision support, medical nursing and allied health research, and ongoing professional development. EPOCH is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to all Tasmanian Department of Health employees, regardless of their location. So there's a number of resources available on EPOCH, and we will very shortly be jumping into a live demo and looking at some of the resources that you can access. These include the EPOCH search function, medicines information, point of care tools, clinical guidelines and standards, electronic journals and textbooks, and research databases. You can access EPOCH via shortcuts and applications on the landing page of the Department of Health and Tasmanian Health Service intranet. It's also accessible from the Library Services intranet homepage, and the address is there for you. Or you can access it from anywhere by going online, and the address is epoch.health.tas.gov.au. And I'm just going to jump now into a live demonstration. So just bear with me while I switch to my Chrome browser. All right, so as you can see, I'm on the EPOCH landing page here. And anytime you want to return to this landing page, you can just click on the EPOCH logo or click on Home. I'm just going to point out the calendar tab here. If you go ahead and click on that, it will take you to a calendar of training sessions and other events that are available. So as you can see, we're in the EPOCH for Doctors training session. There's also a bit later on today, performing PICO searching in CINAHL. As you can see, there are a number of training events and different things. If you just click on it, it will give you a little bit more information. So some of these are online training sessions. Some of them take place in the library at various sites. So I'm just going to click on that EPOCH logo, and that will take me back home again. So as you can see, we've got the EPOCH search function here, and it's here that you can do a quick search for articles, books, journals, and more. And you have the option of searching through everything, just through the ebook collection. If you know the DOI of the article you're looking for, you can enter that, or you can search PubMed or Google Scholar. You also have a number of quick links down the side here. You may be familiar with some of these resources. You can access the MIMS online. You can access Dynamed, the COVID-19 living guidelines, and so on. So there's a number of commonly used resources there. In the middle section, you've got a list of research databases. If you wanted to access the full list, you just need to click here. And as you can see, you have a complete list of all the databases available on EPOCH in alphabetical order. Excuse me. And as you can see, you have access to many of those. Below that, you have some medicines information, and again, you can browse the full list. You also have a tile here that has links to best evidence and practice resources, things like the Campbell collaboration or the Cochrane Library and so on, or you can access a full list. This tile directs you to guidelines and standards. Again, you've got a number of links here, or you can access a full list. There's a popular journal carousel you can browse through if you wish. There's a help desk tile here. With one click, you can send an email to the help desk. You can give feedback. There's a 1-300 number you can call as well. And below that, there's a number of useful links. Here you have a number of links again in a horizontal carousel. There's a list of apps and tools. So some of the resources that you have access to have mobile apps, and some of those are listed there. You may be familiar with Dynamed, MIMS, the therapeutic guidelines, or UpToDate, or you can click on this link to browse a full list of mobile apps of resources on EPOCH. And you can access a number of research tools as well. So please have a look around on the EPOCH page. As you can see, there's a lot of information there. Now, I just want to have a look at these 4 tabs here. So there's an A to Z journal browse. And if I click on that, it opens a new tab. And I go to a resource called Browsing. So here you can type in a search term, and you can search journals by title, by subject, or ISSN. Or you can go through and search by subjects. So for example, let's click on psychiatry and psychology, and it gives me a number of journals. I can continue to narrow down, say I just want to look at psychiatry, and there's a number of journals here. And I'll just pick one at random. Let's look at advances in autism. When I click on that, it gives me some more information about this particular journal. You can look at years and issues, and you have a number of articles listed there. So we're looking at the year 2020, and we're looking at volume 6, issue 4. If you're unfamiliar with what any of these icons mean, you just need to hover over them. So for this first article, which is an editorial, I can download a PDF. I can copy a link to the article. I can save it to my articles. I can export a citation, or I can share this article. And if I decide to save it to my articles, it prompts me, do I want to save it to my general collection, or do I want to create a new collection? I'm going to save that to my general collection. And then if I go into my articles, you can see there are a number of articles that I've saved, and there's the editorial I saved just then. Again, you can access those icons here for each article. The other thing I wanted to point out is the My Bookshelf. So in Browsing, where you look at journals, you can set up virtual bookshelves. So you can set up bookcases with a number of shelves. So if there are journals that you like to browse regularly, you can put them in this section. You can come straight into My Bookshelf and have a look through. All right, I'm just going to jump back to the EPOCH landing page. There's also an A to Z ebook browse. And if I click on that, it takes me to the ebook collection. So I can search through that collection. Let's say I want to look at, let's say cardiology. So I can go ahead and search the ebook selection collection for books on cardiology. And there's a number of results there. And I can read those online, or I can add them to my library. You also have some filters here. So you can browse by special collection, by specialty, by year, and you can control what the order that they're sorted in as well. You can access the library catalog. And again, that will open in a new tab. And this is where you can perform a basic search or an advanced search. And you can search through the Department of Health and Human Services library catalog. But let's go back and look at the search CKN function, search EPOCH function. So if I go ahead and type in, let's just do a very basic search on asthma. And again, I can decide, do I want to search ebooks or any of these things? I'm going to search through everything, and I'll click on Find It. Now this will open a new tab. And as you can see, we've got over 1.5 million results. So when you use the search EPOCH function, you search across a number of resources available on EPOCH. Now, you can also go into individual databases and search individual databases on EPOCH, for example, Medline or CINAHL. And people often ask me, which is better? I'm just going to jump back to that landing page. Am I better off using the EPOCH search function, or am I better off going into an individual database, for example, Medline, and doing a search from there? There isn't really one correct answer to that. Using the EPOCH search bar, you're searching a number of resources. If you go into an individual database, you're just searching that database, but you do have access to some particular features of that database. So it really depends what you're looking for. All right, let's go back to our results when we did our search for asthma using the search EPOCH function. So you have a number of filters here you can apply. Let's say I'm only interested in looking at online full text. And let's say I'm only interested in looking at peer-reviewed articles. And let's say I'm only interested in articles published in the last 12 months. And you can also narrow down by source type as well. Let's say I'm only interested in academic journals. Okay, and you can see here my results list is in order of relevance, but you can have your results listed in date order with newest at the top or with the oldest at the top. So as you can see, each result is listed with the title, a little bit of background. Each article has been tagged with a number of subjects. Now, this is a way of applying metadata, and this is what makes these articles searchable. It's a bit like when you use hashtags on social media. It tells you the journal that it's been published in, the date, and it tells you where this is coming from. So, for example, this particular article comes from the database CINAHL Complete, and you've got the authors there. Now, we are only looking at online full text. And I have my access options here. So I can look at a PDF. I can also look at the complete issue of that article. And as you scroll down, you will see that the format is the same for all of those. So you will notice you've got an icon here, which again, if you're not sure what an icon means, just hover over it and some text will pop up and tell you. So I can save this article. And it says that this has been added to my saved items. That is saved temporarily for the duration of this session. If I sign into my EBSCO account, then that becomes a permanent save. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. And there you can see I'm signed in. Okay, now these 3 dots here, these are a number of tools available. If you click on that, you see there's a citation tool. If I decide I want to cite this article, there's a drop-down menu here, and you can choose which citation format you use. Let's say you use APA 7th edition, and there is the format. I can copy that to my clipboard, and I can go ahead and paste that somewhere. You can also export citations, and you have a number of choices here. So depending what you use, whether it's EasyBib or EndNote, you can choose those. You also have access to, you can also add this article to a project. So if I click on Add to Project, let's make a new project, and I'm going to call it asthma. And let's say this is for a policy I'm writing that's due at the end of September. And I can type anything I like in here. Okay, so I've created a project and I've added this article to my project, and we'll look at projects shortly. So you can also share this article or you can download it directly from here. But I'm going to go ahead and view details about this particular article. It gives me a little bit more information about it. Again, there are my tools. You can hover over those icons. I've got my access options. I can download there. And here's additional information. So the title of the article, the authors and their affiliations. It tells me the name of the journal, what type of publication it is, the language that it was published in. Here are the subjects that my article has been tagged with. So I've got major and minor subjects. I've got a complete abstract, tells me about the journal subset, whether there's any instrumentation involved in this article, and so on. So you can see there's quite a lot of information there. If I decide I want to view the PDF, I can go ahead and click on that, and the PDF will open for me. And there it is. And again, from there, you can download. The search function is not ready yet, but you can actually listen. If you click on listen, the entire article will be read to you in a computerized voice. Again, you can save the item, citation, add to project, share, and print. So I'm going to go ahead and just back out of there. All right, so let's just have a look at some of these sections down the side here. So you've got an overview of your dashboard. It recognizes me because I'm signed in. It shows me the 2 projects I'm working on. If I click on this, you can see that the article I saved is there. I also have another project, and you can see the articles that have been saved there. You can also look at any items that have been saved. You can also look at the recent searches, and it tells the time, the filters I used, and so on. And you can also look at the items that you have viewed. You have a number of research tools here. So you can do a general search. You can open up publications. And if I click on this, this will open in a new window. And it takes us to an area where we can browse ebooks and journals. So let's say I'm interested at looking at publications, and the subject I'm looking at, let's stick to our search term of asthma. And I can go ahead and search that. So that will show me a number of publications available on EPOCH to do with asthma. Tells you what it is. This is a peer-reviewed journal. This is the name of it, the ISSN, the subject. You can click on more to get a little bit more information. It tells us that full text is available, and we can access it there. Sometimes you'll see there's a couple of different ways to access the full text, and so on. You can also view supplemental sources if that's something that you're interested in. You can also browse EPOCH resources by going home to EPOCH, and also there's an A to Z journal browse and an A to Z book browse. All right, so let's just go back a couple of steps. And you will see there is the advanced search tab here. If I go ahead and click on this, it opens up a new page. My search term has been carried over, but if you want to do a more complex search, as you can see, you have a drop-down menu with a number of fields here. You also can add fields. So you do have the capability to do quite complex searching. So let's say I wanted to look at asthma in children, and you will notice as you type, suggestions pop up. So let's say I'm looking at asthma in children or adolescents or youth or child or teenager. And let's say I'm looking at treatment. As you scroll down, you see there's a number of search options there. And I can go ahead and search. Again, you can look at your access options, or you can go into a detailed record of that particular article. You will notice that wherever there's blue hyperlinked text, you are able to click on that. So for example, if I want to know more about the author of this article, or I want to look at more things that that author has published, if I click on that, it actually searches for that author, and I can find other articles by that author. The other thing you'll notice from that detailed record, the name of the journal is in blue hyperlinked text as well. So by clicking on that, I then do a search for articles in that journal. And you can see there's a number of them listed there. So some of the other research tools that might be of interest to you, if you click on general search, that takes you back to that general search page. You also have access to a concept map. So let's say I'm interested in cardiology, for example, and let's say it's pediatric cardiology that I'm interested in. I can add that to my search, and let's say I want to look at a map. This gives you a little tutorial on how the concept map works. But you can add a number of topics to it, and it creates a concept map for you. And as you can see, it started there. All right, let's go ahead and jump back to our EPOCH homepage. All right, so I have mentioned that you can search for information using the EPOCH search function. However, you can also go into a research database, and I'll just show you the difference here. Let's go ahead and do a very quick search on Medline. So if I click on Medline, it takes me into a new window. And this is the Medline search page. Now, as I mentioned, people often ask, are you better off using the EPOCH search function, searching across a number of resources, or are you better off going into an individual database? There's pros and cons to both. The advantage of using an individual database, right now we're looking at Medline. This is the advanced search page. And as you scroll down, you can see there are a number of really specific limiters here. So for example, I can look at things like articles that have full text available, published between specific dates. I can limit to scholarly peer-reviewed articles, but I can also limit to things like systematic reviews, animal studies, review articles. There's also really specific ages. So if I'm only interested in studies to do with newborns, aged from birth to 1 month old, or perhaps I'm interested in looking at aged care, so people who are 80 and over. You also have citation subsets. You can search languages. There's a clinical queries limiter in Medline, and some of the individual databases have very specific limiters. So if I was looking at a topic, but I was only interested in looking at articles to do with prognosis, you can also look at publication types, and these get very specific. So if I was only looking for adaptive clinical trials, for example, or if I was only interested in case studies, as you can see, these are very specific: clinical trial phase 1, clinical trial phase 2, and so on. So you could look for very, very specific targeted things. So maybe I'm only interested in guidelines, for example, or I think one of the topics you can search is legal cases. If you're looking at animal studies, you can specifically look for the type of animal that was used in that study. So maybe you wanted articles to do with the neurology of rats, for example. Okay, so that's just a quick review of some of the different ways that you can search on EPOCH. So we've got the search EPOCH function, which searches across a number of resources. You can search specific research databases as well. You can access individual journals. You can access individual ebooks. This advanced search tab takes you to this advanced search page that we've already seen. So that's a bit of a shortcut there. You can also browse the library catalog. You've got a number of quick links here, and you will see here some great point of care tools like Dynamed or UpToDate. If you're not familiar with those, point of care tools are a little bit different to research databases. Research databases are repositories of journal articles and other publications that provide information about various aspects of healthcare in this case. Point of care tools, that information has been curated and collated for you. So for example, if I were to jump into Dynamed and I wanted information about, let's just say, asthma, instead of looking for research articles about asthma, I can go into a topic. So let's say asthma in adults and adolescents, and this goes through a whole lot of sections about the topic that is very well referenced and draws on the latest evidence. So rather than reading a number of articles, research articles about a topic, you can actually read something like this that will go through the topic, any recent updates to do with the topic. There are usually images involved, tables involved, and so on. All right, does anybody have any questions? Well, I hope you found that useful today. So that was a very quick abbreviated overview of some of the information you can find on EPOCH. As I mentioned, you will be receiving an email from me a bit later today with a link to the recording of today's session, a copy of the PowerPoint slides, and a link to an online evaluation. As you can see from our little tour around EPOCH, there's a lot of information there, and you really could spend a lot of time on any individual resource. So this was just a very brief overview today. If you do have any questions, my contact details are on the screen in front of you. And of course, you will have my email address via the email I send you this afternoon. Thank you so much for attending.